So now I have one question for you all. Do you have any idea what we are going to learn as an advanced topic in machine learning? Because this is our next phase of training, that we are going to start advanced topic in machine learning. So what we are going to study means which part comes under this advanced machine learning? Any idea?
Neural networks.
This is one part. Anything else?
Deep learning, ma'am.
Deep learning, okay. So neural network and deep learning, those are known as advanced part, right? So this is your expectation, definitely. But we are going to discuss some more difficult topic. Neural network and deep learning is definitely there. We will learn them. But we have some important topic to discuss. That is support vector machine. My screen is visible, right?
Ma'am,
My screen is visible? The white screen?
Yes, ma'am, visible, ma'am.
Okay. Yes.
Hello, আমি আরেকটা আমার বয়স শোনা যাচ্ছে ম্যাম? আমি আসলে আরেকটা আপনি অ্যাডভান্স জিজ্ঞেস করছিলেন, আমি এনএলপি বলছিলাম। এনএলপি মানে ন্যাশনাল।
Okay, this is an application. Okay, so let's start with the concept that what we are going to study. See, we are going to study advanced topic means we are going to study advanced machine learning mechanism. So among this advanced machine learning algorithm, the most important topic is support vector machine. Now here the question is why it is an advanced topic. See, to understand this support vector machine in details, first you have to understand the logic behind it, then you have to understand its working principle, and then you have to understand the underlying mathematics of support vector machine. Then only you will be able to perform the basic coding using support vector machine. And this is one of the most important and significant machine learning algorithm. But before starting this class, I want to tell you one point, that is, previously whatever we have discussed, whatever mechanism we have discussed, we know that all those mechanisms are known as unsupervised machine learning algorithms, right? But today onwards, we are going to discuss the machine learning mechanisms which are supervised learning mechanisms. So, support vector machine or SVM are powerful machine learning algorithms. More precisely, these are the one of the flexible supervised machine learning algorithms. Now, the first question that should come in your mind, that is, we can use this support vector machine for what purpose? See, this support vector machine can be used for classification, as well as they can be used for regression. For both the mechanism, we can use support vector machine. But understanding the support vector machine is not so easy. So let's start with the very basic concept. So if you ask me this question, that is it a very new algorithm, then I will tell you no. It is invented in 1960s, right? And SVM is popular because of its unique way of implementation as compared to the other machine learning algorithm. And why I am stating that the mechanism of SVM is unique than other machine learning algorithm. To understand this, look at this picture. See, we have 4 graphs, and if you look at this plot very carefully, then you will be able to unfold the underlying behavior of support vector machine. Now see this first plot. So this is a plot in 2D space. So we have some points on 2D space, 2-dimensional space. And see, some of them are red and some of them are green. And now we are trying to perform some classification. Now here you can ask me one question, that is, I have already stated that support vector machine can be used for classification and as well as regression. So why I am mentioning classification? See, initially when support vector machine was designed, it was created only for classification purpose. So that's why I'm just defining the concept of classification using support vector machine first. So now, what is our objective? Pay attention to this. So since we have 2 sets of points, red and green, and we have to classify them. Classifying them means we have to derive a line that is going to separate this 2 set of points. So that separation, or in other words, we can say that this separation is known as decision boundary, which is going to be very, very important for us. So today our objective is to find out a proper decision boundary that can classify in 2-dimensional space 2 groups of data points. So this is the objective. So in classification, we have to add a boundary always between the given data points, so that in future, whenever new points are coming, we can add them in the proper group. So this is our objective. So initially finding an appropriate boundary line is very much important. Now here, what is the problem? Now if you see this 3 diagram, you will be able to find that we can draw this boundary line in many ways. Means I can draw a vertical line, horizontal line, slightly slanted line. So this kind of, any kind of boundary line I can plot to separate them, right? Any mechanism I can follow. So here, what is the objective of support vector machine? The objective of support vector machine is, it is always it tries to find the best line or best decision boundary, which help us separating the green and the red lines, red dots. They can be classified properly in the 2-dimensional space. So this is the objective. So the objective of support vector machine is to find out an appropriate separating line, right? So now here, look at this diagram. If you consider this diagram, now you will be able to find that we have many markings all over this diagram. So now in this 2-dimensional space, we have 2 sets of data points, red and green, right? So in this case, we have 2 classes, we can say. One is red class and another is green class. And we have one line, this one, which is separating this 2 set of classes. Now first thing, before understanding support vector machine algorithm, you have to understand first what is the meaning of support vectors, which are known as support vectors. See, support vector means whatever points we have in this two-dimensional space, all these points are known as support vectors. So instead of calling them data points, you can call them support vectors. Right? Now, if you see these two dots carefully, this red and green dot, now you will be able to find that a line is drawn in order to separate the two classes from equidistance from these 2 points. See, this is the distance, and this blue line is drawn from the equidistance of this red support vector and from this green support vector, right? So this kind of line, what is our objective? Our objective is to maximize this distance. So whichever distance we have over here, so in order to maximize this distance, we have to use this support vector machine algorithm. So why we need to maximize this one? Because more this distance will be, the better separation we will get, right? So in case of support vector machine algorithm, whichever data points you are having in some two-dimensional space, our objective is to plot one separating line, and this separating line will be always drawn from the 2 points with equidistance measurement. Now these 2 points, one point will be taken from one class and another point is taken from another class, right? So this is the basic thing, and maximizing the distance is our objective. But here we have some more consideration. That is why we are calling these data points as vectors. See, we will not always work on two-dimensional space. We can always work on multi-dimensional space. So when we have just more than 2 variables, like 3 variables, 5 variables, 10 variables or 100 variables, each one of them are points which you cannot visualize in 3D space. So all these points are considered as vector in multidimensional space. So basically, whenever you are plotting some data points in 2D, two-dimensional section, then you can call them data points or vector, it doesn't matter. But whenever you have more features, more feature means what? Now try to explain. Try to understand this one. See, why we have x1 and x2. Here x1 and x2 means whichever data point we have say 2 features and we have one class level, right? Class level is red and green, something like this. And x1 and x2 are like features. Just like Irish, whenever we discussed Irish flower, we know that we have 4 features: sepal length, sepal width, petal length and petal width. So since we have 2 features, so we can plot them in 2D space. However, whenever we have more than 2 variables, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that, so you cannot perceive them, you cannot visualize them, you cannot plot them. So this kind of situation is known as multidimensional space. And definitely whenever you are going to plot some points in multidimensional space, so at that point of time, you have to consider them as vectors. So please make a note. Data points considered as multidimensional space is known as vectors. Now, let us discuss about this line. So the line in the middle is called maximum margin, or it is also known as hyperplane, or it is also known as maximum margin classifier. So in 2D space, it is known as classifier. But in multidimensional space, it is hyperplane. So this thing you have to keep in mind. So whenever I am drawing this kind of line, you can call them one separating line. But whenever we are going to separate classes in multidimensional space, at that point of time it will become hyperplane. So in the green side, the line is called positive hyperplane. So this point, this dotted line is known as positive hyperplane, and in the red side, this dotted line is known as negative hyperplane. So it does not really matter in which order you are named them. Means this can be known as positive or negative hyperplane, or this can be also known as positive or negative hyperplane, right? So these are the basic diagram that we are considering for support vector machine algorithm. So to understand support vector machine algorithm, you have to understand this basic concept. Which one is hyperplane, which one is vector. Now let's talk about these 2 points, this red and green points, and see, all points are known as vectors, fine, but specifically this red and green points are known as support vector, right? So now we have to understand this concept, why they are known as support vectors. So basically here you have to remember one point. Here we are working with linearly separable data set. Now what is the meaning of linearly separable data set? So if we put a line among this data point, and this straight line can separate them in two specific categories, and then we are searching for one with the maximum margin. So whenever we can separate some data points or data set with some straight line, so we can say that this data points are linearly separable. So one thing, if I can draw some data points like this, and if I ask that whether they are linearly separable or not, then you will tell that no, because in order to separate them you have to draw this kind of line. So this is not a straight line, right? So here whatever data points we are dealing with right now, they are linearly separable. So from the diagram it is clear. Now we have to discuss what is so special about this support vector machine, because at the starting of this class I have explained that support vector machine will have some unique feature. So what is that unique feature? Say you are trying to teach a machine how to distinguish between apple and orange. Just a minute. Yes. Now consider this situation. So now we are going to learn what is the unique behavior of support vector machine, why it is unique. So say now we are learning machine learning algorithm. Now consider a situation that we have one machine and we are trying to teach this machine how to distinguish between apple and orange, right? So how to classify these fruits? So if you have the fruit data set, means if you have the repository of fruit database about apple and oranges, then we have to analyze them. Then we have to look at them. And then we have to see what are the features available for them. And then we can give the idea about this data set to the machine, and then the machine can understand about the data set. So this is a very standard machine learning algorithm, right? So what any machine learning algorithm will do, try to understand, whenever a set of apple information is given to you, and set of orange information is given, then any general machine learning algorithm, what it will do, it will pick a standard apple, any apple which is very likely to be an apple, means the most red apple, it will be, it is going to pick this one, right? And it will pick one orange like this. So any machine learning algorithm will pick one ordinary apple and one ordinary orange as a reference, and then it will try to find out which features are matching with this apple or oranges. Then accordingly they are going to separate. So basically machine will try to learn from the apple which are very much likely an apple, and for oranges which are very common type of oranges, and then accordingly they can predict and classify. But this is an ordinary machine learning algorithm. But in case of support vector machine, pay attention to this, it is very much different. Why? See, support vector machine looks at the apple which are very much like oranges. Means among this set of apples, which apple it will choose? It will choose a particular apple which look like almost similar to an orange, not a standard apple. It will never pick up one apple which is very much likely to be an apple, right? So it will pick some apple, for an example, which is like orange in color. So this is the basic difference between any ordinary machine learning algorithm and support vector machine. And also among the oranges, it will pick the orange that are not any top standard orange. Say green orange. Orange generally it will be in orange in color. So it will pick a particular orange which almost look like an apple. Say it will pick one green orange. And whichever this unique reference support vector machine has picked up from this data set, those are marked over here. See, the apple which is look like an orange, it is situated far apart from the ordinary apples like this, and orange which the support vector machine has selected, this one, the property of this orange is far apart from the ordinary orange. So that's why it is situated over here. So this unique features, so these two unique references are marked over here. They are not an ordinary one. They are the unique one among this group. It is the unique one among this group. So that's why these are chosen by the support vector machine as a reference point. So that's why these two specific data points are known as support vectors. Means after choosing this unique fruit, SVM will consider them as support vector reference, and on the basis of this feature, it will try to classify it. So that's why these 2 points are far apart from its other group, and they are acting as support vector to find an appropriate classification. So this is the reason why these 2 points are known as support vectors. So you can say that representation of this apple is this point and representation of this orange is this point, and they are known as support vector. So they are very close to the boundary. See, these are the boundary. I have already discussed about the positive and negative hyperplane. So they are very close to the boundary, and therefore SVM is very risky type of algorithm because it looks at very extreme cases and which is very close to the boundary line. So that's why using support vector machine algorithms are better than other machine learning algorithms. So this is the very basic concept of support vector machine algorithm. So do you have any question? You can ask me. Any question regarding hyperplane?
Ma'am, does this line segment has to be a best fit line?
See, this lines, how to draw this line, it is dependent on the algorithm. Means, yes, your question is it a best fit line? Yes, the ultimate goal of the support vector machine is to find out the best fit line. But in general, what happens, try to understand, whenever we will use some linear regression kind of thing and we are going to find some line like this, there is no margin. However, if you look at this diagram carefully, you will find that it is some kind of tube. Means it is giving us some flexibility, some region, right? So it is not just a line, it is a tube. Means we are getting a flexibility of finding two classes within some region. And definitely, considering all those properties together, we have to find out the best fit line. And SVM will give you that thing. That's why it is not a line, it is an hyperplane. Right?
Okay, ma'am.
So I will tell you that what is the basic difference between this any linear regression or in SVM, then you will be able to understand. But look at this one. Now we have to understand another thing. So at the beginning of the class, I have already considered one point, that is whichever data set we are using, they are linearly separable, right? Now, and finding the best fit line according to your definition is the ultimate aim. Now consider this two graph over here. So what we have over here, now if you consider this second graph, what you can able to see. So if I consider this kind of graph, is it possible to find out any separating line like this? Yes or no? For this kind of graph.
No, ma'am.
So we cannot separate them, right? By just drawing a line. So now this happens because in this case, the data is not linearly separable. So now we will discuss about the another property of SVM. Support vector machine will help us to correctly place the decision boundary, but it does not have an assumption that the data is linearly separable. So SVM basically select optimal decision boundary among multiple boundaries. So this thing you have to keep in mind. It will not find out an appropriate decision boundary. Actually, the main aim of support vector machine is to find out an optimal decision boundary. And in non-linearly separable case, we cannot draw a single line, single decision boundary. So at this point of time, what SVM will do? SVM will use a concept of kernel. Now, what we have learned up to this? See, at the beginning of the class, I have discussed that finding an hyperplane or decision boundary is the only objective of the support vector machine. But conceptually, we can understand if the data points are not linearly separable, then what we have to do? We cannot draw this kind of graph. We means the SVM cannot plot this kind of graph. So what SVM will do? So SVM has an additional capability of imposing the concept of kernel, which can give you a higher dimension space separation. Now, to understand this concept of kernel and to understand the concept of decision boundary in case of non-linearly separable data, we have to consider some situation. So now, look at this diagram one by one. Consider this. So what is this? See, this is a one-dimensional space, x1, right? In this one-dimensional space, we have red dots, green dots, and red dots, right? So basically, we have total 9 data points, so which are here non-linearly separable. Now, how can we apply a method of increasing dimensionality of the space to make it linearly separable? Because if it is not linearly separable, then we cannot separate them. So we have to now find out any situation by which we can separate them. Separate them means all red points will be grouped together and all green points will be grouped together, and we will draw this kind of line. This is our only objective. Now in this case, in this one-dimensional space, whatever situation we are having with this 9 dots, we will not be able to separate them. So that's why I'm just telling them that this situation is a non-linearly separable condition where I cannot separate them with a single line. Now we have to find some mechanism. So what we can do? So the simplest technique is we can apply some mapping function. So here f equal to x minus 5, this is known as mapping function. So this mapping function can be anything where f is the function, right? So here please make a note that whenever we are dealing with non-linearly separable data, it is the most difficult one to learn. So at this point of time, we will try to use support vector machine algorithm. Now support vector machine, how to distinguish this non-linearly separable data? It will prefer to use some mapping function. But now consider this mapping function. Means see, I am going to define one support vector machine which has the ability to use this kind of mapping function. Okay, f equal to x minus 5, this mapping function is used to. Now what we will do, if we use this mapping function x minus 5, it means what? This is the initial data points, and x minus 5 means we are pushing the points to the left. So we will get this kind of situation. So this is the initial condition, x minus 5 means, so this is the current condition, right? So we are pushing the points to the left. Now try to separate them. Can we separate them with any single kind of line? Again the answer is no. So what we can do? Now we can try to process them. Means how we can process them? So this kind of line means if we change the mapping function from f equal to x minus 5 to f equal to x minus 5 to the power 2, it means what? Now we can get this kind of line. Now try to separate them. Yes, if we change the mapping function from linear to this parabolic kind of definition, then by changing the mapping function we will get this kind of diagram, and now see, we can separate them linearly. So now we will have one red group and one green group. So now here the question is, understanding or writing mapping function, is it easy? Because how could I understand which kind of mapping function should I use, right? So this is for one-dimensional space. See, we are dealing with one-dimensional space and we have so much complexity over here. So now, using mapping function, is it beneficial? Can anyone tell? By changing mapping function, we are getting some kind of line and then we are separating it. So is it a good approach?
It takes much time to detect what type of mapping function is to be done. Therefore,
Exactly. It is time consuming and complex also, right? So, and try to understand here, whatever thing I am discussing over here, this is for 1D space. And in the beginning of the class, what I have discussed that it is all about working with multi-dimensional space. So we are not dealing with data with one feature. Always we have more than one feature, not more than one feature, because more than 3 features. So at this point of time, using mapping function is not good. So then what are the alternatives? Now consider this situation again. So I'm not using SVM, I am just trying to use some simple mathematical concept, and I'm trying to separate this red and green block. So now consider, so 1D space is over, now consider any 2D space. So in this 2D space, what we will do, so this is the non-linearly separable data. Same technique I am using, I am just deriving some kind of mapping function, and then after applying the mapping function, we are just creating one 3D space. Why? See, the concept of mapping function, it will be clear over here why we are using mapping function, because whichever dimension we have initially, we have to convert it into the higher dimension. So from lower to higher dimension conversion, we need any kind of mapping function. In the previous case also, whenever we have one-dimensional data, we have created this kind of thing to get some two-dimensional view, and then we can separate it. So here also, initially we have 2D data, 2D space, and we are going to convert it into the higher dimensional using some mapping function. So what is the objective of mapping function? For changing 2D to 3D, means lower dimensional to higher dimension, 1D to 2D. So here we are applying mapping function and converting into the 3D space. Now your question is, okay, so converting in higher dimensional space, so what is the benefit? See, in two-dimensional space, we are not be able to separate them. So whenever we are converting it to three-dimensional space, see, they are easily separable. Here we have green and here we have red dots. So basically my point is, so what is the objective of mapping function? So whenever we don't have the concept of support vector machine, usually people will use the concept of mapping function. What is that? First, take the data point, plot it, find out the dimensionality of the data point, then find out some complex mapping function, then draw or convert it into the higher dimensional space. Once it is got transformed into the higher dimensional space, then you can easily separate them by using some hyperplane. So this is the hyperplane that I am talking about, and it is separating the two data points. And then what we will do, after getting the hyperplane, again we will convert it into the two-dimensional space. So whenever you are converting this 3D space into the 2D space, you will get this kind of separation, and it is done. So basically, why mapping function was popular? Because converting anything from lower dimension to higher dimension will definitely give you an hyperplane. However, you need one transformation mechanism, because initially it was in 2D space, so you have to again convert it, all the data points, in the 2D space, and as a result you will find this kind of separation. So up to this it was perfectly fine, but my question was, why this mechanism is not used? Why we are following kernel mechanism which is supported by support vector machine? See, the reason lies in computer graphics. So we have one subject, computer graphics, where we have the concept of transformation. Transformation means whenever you are performing rotation, shearing, this kind of translation, this kind of activity on any kind of data points, they are known as transformation. Now, what is my point? Whenever you have some set of data, so these are the data points. If you want to transform these data points, then what you need one matrix that will hold the data point, and you need another matrix which is known as transformation matrix. So basically here, see, we are transforming 2D to 3D. This is there you need this kind of calculation once. Then after finding the hyperplane, again you have to transform it into 3D to 2D. Again you need this kind of calculation. So this kind of calculation and implementing them are more complex and very much difficult. And also, what kind of mapping function we have to use, it is very much difficult to select. So that's why we don't go for the mapping function to convert some lower dimensional data to higher dimensional data in order to get a correct hyperplane. So here, make a note, if it is asked to you that mapping function can separate the linearly separable data, non-linearly separable data, can it separate? Your answer is yes, it can separate. See over here. But the mechanism is very much complex. So that's why we never go for this mechanism. And this is the beauty of support vector machine, where it will use a specific kernel approach in order to give you the appropriate optimal hyperplane. So this is the basic concept. So whatever approach we are discussing right now, they are not supported by support vector machine. This mechanism was used when support vector machine was not there. And this is a pretty much complex mechanism. So instead of this mechanism, what we are going to study? We are going to study one mechanism which is known as kernel-based approach or the kernel trick, right? So any question at this point of time? Any question?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm just giving you the general definitions because it is very much important and you have to learn them. So what we have discussed so far, we have discussed about support vectors. So what is the definition of support vectors? See, support vectors are data points that are closest to the hyperplane. So from the diagram, the definition is clear. So data points that are closest to the hyperplane is called support vectors. And separating line will be defined with the help of these data points, because this separating line, how it is drawn? This separating line is drawn from the equidistance of these two data points. So basically how this separating line is drawn? With the help of this data points. That's why it is supporting. So that's why it is a support vector machine. Support vectors. So this is the first definition. Second definition, I've already discussed about hyperplane. So as we can see in this diagram, the decision plane or the space that we are talking about is divided between a set of objects having different classes. So this is the concept of hyperplane. And whatever I have discussed right now, this hyperplane can be like this. This is for 2D space. In 2D space, it can be a line. But from 3D space onwards, your hyperplane will be like this. It's a plane kind of thing. It is not a line. So I've already discussed this point. So that's why it is known as hyperplane whenever we are going to 3D. Means in higher dimensional space. 3D, 4D, 5D like this. And now we have one more concept, that is margin. What is margin? So it can be defined as a gap between the two lines. So whichever gap we have between these two lines on the closest data points of different classes. So this gap. So this gap is known as margin, and it can be calculated as a perpendicular distance from the line to the support vectors. So from the diagram it is, I think, clear. It's a perpendicular distance from the line to the support vectors. So now here you have to keep in one point, that is large margin is considered as a good margin. If this margin is very much large, means thick, then it is a good margin, and small margin is considered as bad margin. So we always expect this gap or the margin to be a large one. right? So this thing you have to keep in mind. So this is the 3 point. Always you have to remember: support vectors, hyperplane, and the margin. Now, according to our discussion, what is the final goal of support vector machine? So support vector machine, the goal of this support vector machine is to divide the data set into classes to find what? To find the maximum marginal hyperplane, which is also known as MMH, and it can be performed using following steps. Means some of the following steps we have to follow in order to perform this MMH. So if it is asked that what is the goal of the support vector machine, your answer will be maximum marginal hyperplane. And I think the concept of margin, concept of hyperplane, and why we are going to maximize this distance, this is clear. Now, how to find out this MMH, maximum marginal hyperplane? First, what we have to do? First, the support vector machine will generate hyperplanes iteratively that segregates the classes in the best way. So, if you see this diagram over here, how this hyperplane is created, support vector machine will use some iterative mechanism to fit the line to generate the hyperplane that can segregate these classes in the best way. So this is the first step to find out the MMH. Then after finding this line, what it will do? It will choose the hyperplane that separate the classes correctly. So after drawing all these hyperplanes, then it will find the best one, the best MMH that can give us the optimal separation, means the correct classes. So this is the basic mechanism of support vector machine. Now what we are learning, basically we are going to implement in the next session onwards support vector machine in Python. Definitely we will use them. And for support vector machine implementation, what we need, so this thing you have to keep in mind. So I have already discussed about SVM will use some kernel. So in order to implement the concept of support vector kernels, so what we have to do, so we have to use a kernel, or we have to implement, means support vector machine algorithm is implemented basically with the help of some kernel that transforms the input data space in the required form. So transforming the input data space is very much evident. I have already discussed. And whenever we are going to implement this concept with the help of an kernel, so what is this algorithm will do? The support vector machine algorithm will basically implement the concept of kernel first. And what this kernel will do? This kernel will find out one mechanism that can transform the input space into the required form. Whichever form is required, so it will transform it. So SVM therefore uses a concept which is known as kernel trick. And this kernel trick is better than the mapping functionality. So what is this kernel trick? I will discuss. So what is our objective? So in order to define SVM, support vector machine algorithm in Python, first thing that we are going to learn how to design one kernel. And if we are able to design the kernel, then we can easily find out in which dimension or whatever data set is given to us in some space, 2D or 3D space, in which format we have to convert them. So this is the first thing you have to keep in mind. So basically kernel takes a very low dimensional input space and transform it into a higher dimensional space. So whatever your mapping function will do, convert it into the higher dimensional space, the same thing it with the kernel function will do, but this kernel implementation is less complex than the mapping function. So in simple word, what we can say, what is this kernel? So this kernel converts a non-separable problems into the separable problems. Means if you ask me this question, okay, we have got this idea, now what the kernel will do? So whichever non-separable thing we have initially, like this, kernel will give you one trick by which you can separate it, right? So in simple words, kernel converts non-separable problems into separable problems by adding more dimensions to it, and it makes SVM more powerful. Means if we talk about SVM without the concept of kernel, it is not possible. Why SVM is so much powerful? Because we have this dimensionality, imposing dimensionality concept in SVM, which by using kernel. So kernel makes SVM more powerful, flexible, and we can say that it is accurate than other simple machine learning algorithms, right? So now how the linear kernel will look like. So I'm just giving you one very basic idea, because today we are not discussing any details. But if you are considering about kernels, we know that we have many types of kernel, right? So which type of kernel we have to use, again it is a question. But I think you have got a pretty much good idea that what kind of kernel we have to use, because in case of mapping function we can use 1D mapping, means linear mapping function. We can use some mapping function which is hyperparabolic. So for kernel,
Ma'am, can we use quadratic kernels?
Yes, anything you can use, but what we are learning, which kernel to use when, or can we design any universal kernel that can work better for all situations? This thing we have to learn, right? See, whenever I'm talking about linear kernel means it is nothing, means it can be used as a dot product between any two observations. And generally the formula of the linear kernel is very easy. So see, we have 2 points and we can write sum of this, means point will be like this, say xi. So this is the linear kernel formulation. So this formula, we can see that what we are doing, we are just performing some calculation, means product between the two vectors. We are just calculating it. So the sum of multiplication of each pair of input values. So this is a linear kernel. Similarly, I've already discussed, we can have polynomial kernel. Polynomial kernel means if we have one linear kernel, and say if we are just writing some value like this, say these are the 2 points, and say this is the formula I'm just using over here, to the power d. So I have already shown this kind of thing, something square to the power 2. So this kind of thing is known as polynomial kernel. So here what is this d? D is the degree of polynomial, which we need to specify actually manually in case of learning algorithm. So here you have to keep in mind whenever we are implementing support vector machine in Python. So first we have to implement the type of kernel, and we know that this linear kernel is not very good to separate some classes. So generally people prefer to use some polynomial kernel. So here whatever dimension you want to give to the power d, this thing you have to specify manually. But now I am going to discuss one point. There is a beautiful kernel, and the concept of this kernel is known as radial basis function kernel, RBF kernel. And you find me using this kernel, radial basis function kernel, repeatedly. So this is mostly used in SVM classification. So now please make a note, among linear kernel, polynomial kernel and radial basis function kernel, SVM uses radial basis function kernel more frequently for classification. So what it does, so this radial basis function kernel basically maps the input space in indefinite dimensional space. So this is the beauty of this kernel. So please make a note. This kernel will map the input space in indefinite dimensional space. So that's why it is better, instead of giving manually each time the degree of the polynomial, we have this flexibility for radial basis function over here. And if you ask me the formula is very simple. If I am talking about this pair of points, then it is some kind of exponential calculation, right? Because it is converting something to the indefinite dimensional space, and here we have to use some gamma parameter. We have to set this one, and some function will be some function we will use, that is say x minus say xi to the power 2. So this kind of formula we have to use over here. Now if you ask me this question, that is what is this gamma is all about, see, this gamma is basically a parameter which is a range. Means this gamma ranges between 0 to 1, and we need to manually specify it is again in the machine learning algorithm. Just like dimensionality, fine, radial basis function has more power than other two. However, manually setting some of the parameter is still there for radial basis function. So before applying support vector machine in Python, first you have to memorize that we are going to use radial basis function first, and then you have to understand what kind of parameter this radial basis function is used. It is using one parameter, which is a gamma, and what should be the range of this gamma parameter? It should be memorized. The gamma will take the range from 0 to 1. Means between this range you have to specify the value of the gamma. How you can choose the value of the gamma? This is the next question. See, I'm just giving you one idea from my experience. It is a good default value of the gamma is 0.1. If you select this value for gamma, always it will give you a better output. So please make a note, gamma, though it is a range between 0 to 1, a good gamma value means 0.1. And all this concept you have to keep in mind before implementing support vector machine in Python. So this is your gamma part. So basically, why we are implementing support vector machine? We are implementing support vector machine for linearly separable data, right? Also we can implement it for non-linearly separable data. Now what we will discuss, so from the next day onwards we will try to discuss the concept that how to implement the concept of support vector machine in Python. So in case of defining support vector machine, so what steps we have to follow? We know that in case of Python we have to import something, and also you know that whenever we are implementing some specific machine learning algorithm, we have to also import it. So basically we have to import SVM, which is in small. It is for using the support vector machine algorithm. So definitely we have to import it, and in order to plot the outcome, again we will use MATLAB Plotly. Then we will load the data set, and accordingly we will continue this support vector machine algorithm, right? So this is the very basic concept of support vector machine algorithm. But you can ask me one question, that is okay, we have got a pretty much good idea about support vector machine, but means is it always accurate? If you ask me this question, so I can tell you one thing, that is support vector machine classifier offers great accuracy, fine, and it works well with high dimensional space. So whenever you are stuck with high dimensional space data, you can use it. You can use the SVM classifier. So SVM classifier basically use a subset of training points, and therefore the training will be always, means it will take always less memory. So it will not consume the entire data point. So whatever training data set you have, support vector machine will always take subset of that training data set. So if you ask me this question, that what is the advantage of support vector machine, so I can tell you that it will be always better to use support vector machine whenever you are dealing with higher dimensional space, and due to the mechanism that it will always consider the subset of the training data set, so it will take less memory. So whenever your algorithm is taking less memory, it will be always beneficial for you. But I have one experience with support vector machine. So whenever you have high training time, means this support vector machine will take very much high training time. Means whenever your algorithm is training, then this time is not reasonable, I can say that. And it will be whenever you are dealing with large data set, and it will be significantly increasing. So this is the one, you can say, disadvantage of support vector machine that I face. And another disadvantage I can say that support vector machine classifier basically do not work well with overlapping classes. Overlapping classes means what? Can anyone help me? So it is not good with overlapping classes. So what do you mean by overlapping classes? Any idea? Means which classes can be considered as overlapping classes? Which situation?
Ma'am, when red data points and green data points are mixes up.
Yes, in which case it may appear? Which is the situation where we have got this overlapping classes?
Regression.
No, it's an algorithm. I'm just talking about situation. See, whenever I'm talking about overlap means the data points are mixed up. Data points are mixed up means what? Data points are mixed up because some properties are related, right? So when we are talking about fish, prawn and rohu fish, can we distinguish these two fish? Means if we plot the property of these two fish, the prawn and the rohu fish, we can easily find two separate classes. Why? Because the properties, the color, the shape, the texture, for both the fishes, they are completely different. Now tell me one point, for rohu and katla fish, can we distinguish these two fish? Because they are very much similar to each other, right? Now come to the technical part. So when we are talking about Irish data set, in the beginning of this class, I have already discussed that we have three kinds of Irish dataset: Setosa, versicolor and virginica. And this dataset is one of the popular dataset. Why we are using this dataset? So what is the reason behind using this dataset? Because Setosa flower is completely different from other two flowers. However, you cannot distinguish versicolor and virginica because some of the properties of versicolor and virginica are very much similar. So we have already proved this whenever we have done the data analysis part. So these are your overlapping classes. So in this case, if we use support vector machine, then let's see what will happen, right? So support vector machine, using support vector machine will not be beneficial, very much beneficial whenever we have some feature which are overlapping to each other, which are very much similar to each other. So at this point of time, support vector machine finds it very difficult to separate the data points. But here my question is, can anyone tell me the reason, because I have already discussed the mechanism of support vector machine. So why there is a probability that support vector machine will not work with overlapping classes? So which point you have to highlight? Whatever I have discussed today among these points. Can anyone
Because
help?
there is an intersection between two sets of
Okay.
set of points, ma'am.
Okay. So
It
why?
can
And
Why?
margin is very
why
less, ma'am.
Margin is?
properly.
Very less.
Margin is very less. Okay. Why margin is very less?
Because we
that points are very much common to each other.
And what means, in which way the support vector machine will work? That apple and orange example, try to remember.
Because they will find the similar type of same type of apple like oranges.
So these are their reference point. So overlapping point means all points are look alike the reference point. So which point it will take as a support vector, right? So
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
yeah, confusion. So all of you got the idea. So why it will not work well for overlapping classes? Because support vector machine starts its reference point by selecting the apple which is more like oranges, or it will select orange which is more like apple. So this is the reference point. So overlapping point means this kind of features are very much common in the data set. So which point it will take as a support vector? So there will be one confusion. So at this point of time, support vector machine finds it very difficult to get the appropriate or accurate classification, right? Okay, now I have one question. That is, say I am using support vector machine for phase detection. Okay, phase detection problem. So is it a wise decision from my end? Why? Means if I am using support vector machine in order to perform phase classification, it will work correctly or not in reference to this discussion. Can anyone tell? Face recognition, face observation, anything you can tell.
Ma'am, it will work, I
Ma'am,
think.
it would be a wise decision, I guess, because for this case, support vector machine doesn't have to face any lookalike reference, because every faces are different, right? So,
But in the case of twins, maybe it will not work properly for the twins.
yes, yep,
Yes,
that's the exception.
This is a special
perfect.
case.
That's the exception.
Perfect. So and also we know that in the universe we have 7% they are look-alike, right? So face detection, face observation, but in general these are the very rare cases, right? But in general we can use it for face observation, right? Okay. Now I have one question. Always whenever I talk about any algorithm, there is one student who always asks me this question: can I use it in bioinformatics? Means say I'm use it for DNA based research in the laboratory. So can I use it for DNA detection and DNA observation or classification, SVM?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I have a question regarding this.
Yes.
Ma'am,
Okay, first tell me, can we do this?
Yes, ma'am. We can use these coordinates. You can use this concept to find a genetical variant of plants also,
Yes.
animals also.
Okay, I'm
And,
talking about
we-
DNA, means DNA of plant, DNA of human being, anything we can use, right? But DNA based
Yes,
research, can we rely
Yes.
on support vector machine? If yes, then you have to tell me the justification.
Ma'am, while replication of DNA, we can use these vector points, means the support vector machine will help us to comply with the DNA replication of animals. Suppose if there is if we want to find a mutant of this any kind of animal, so we can use this data and find out which kind of species by the help of SVM.
Right. So due to this unique feature, right? So it can be used in bioinformatics. So this is the one of the most important algorithm that you can directly use for any kind of bioinformatics based research. Yes. Now I have one more question. Okay, say I have a problem with handwriting remembrance. Means we have to recognize some case of handwriting. So there is one handwriting specific given, we have to identify it. So this is a handwriting of male or female. So can I use SVM for this kind of application?
No, ma'am.
Why?
Ma'am, because it can't able to detect it, because handwriting, it can be men's or women's, that cannot be
Detected. Okay. Okay, tell me one thing. If we try to detect handwriting for any human being, means we have a set of handwriting. First, whenever you are talking about any application, you just ask yourself one question: if handwriting is unique for each and every person. Yes or no?
No, ma'am. Sometimes matches with the other.
No, ma'am.
Handwritings can be replicated, right?
Yes,
So-
can be replicated. So can we tell that it is a classical example of overlapping classes in some cases? Yes or no?
For this case of replication, it might be an example of.
Yes, yes, might be an example. Definitely. So basically, this is the pros and cons, we can say, not disadvantage and advantage of support vector machine. So this support vector machine is not acceptable actually for large data set. This thing I can conclude today. So whenever we have very large data set, it is not acceptable. Why? Because I have already stated that it will take pretty much good amount of time for training, right? So, and also I have found one thing, that it does not execute very well when the data set has more target classes. Means, see, you don't think that always we have two kinds of classes, male, female, or 3 species, 4 species. Sometimes we have multi-class also. So I have already faced this problem. So whenever we have multiple classes, so at this point of time, this algorithm will not work properly, right? So this is another problem that I want to discuss with you all. So this is the main disadvantage or demerit of support vector machine, right? So these are the basic details of support vector machine. But again, there is one but. So whatever we have discussed today, it is about support vector machine when it is used for classification. But I have already stated that support vector machine is already used for regression. And also we have to understand this mechanism also, that how it is applied to classification and as well as regression also. And why, since we have linear regression and other kind of regression, why we are relying on support vector machine based regression. So this thing also we have to learn. So immediately after understanding these 2 points simultaneously, then only we can able to implement this support vector machine concept, right? So is this concept clear, whatever we have discussed today?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So it is an advanced topic, but I will upload it anyways, this concept. But be very much sure that in this advanced topic, just keep in mind copying the algorithm for any source and using it for any dataset, it will not work. So at this point of time, we have to understand each and everything. So here in this advanced course, we have to learn a lot of mathematics and theory too. So this is the thing you have to keep in mind. One minute. Okay. So I will give it to the Google Classroom. That you have one classroom, na? Google Classroom. You will find it in my. Okay. Okay, I'm just telling anyone. Anyone, can you please share this one, the Google Classroom code here in the chat box?
Ma'am, I have something to say about SVM regarding modern chemistry.
Yes, tell me.
Ma'am, usually we use data classification, but during pattern recognition, I have found that in YEST microarray expression, SVM is one of the most important thing. Means the algorithm is used here. The multiple areas, ma'am. Suppose we want to find the remote protein homologies, ma'am. A person's protein detection. So if we use this SVM machine learning, we can find the protein of a person. Means what type of protein is it? I can use this concept. And
yes.
also, ma'am, the performance degradation in various kind of chemicals we use in various laboratories. Especially, ma'am, it is mainly used in modern chemistry right now, but in the later 2 to 3 years, development is going on, research is going on to provide it in physical chemistry, because in modern chemistry we need high dimensional data. Right now chemistry is also getting advanced by the help of this AI, so we can generate huge chemical data by the use of SVM.
Exactly.
Suppose H1, H2, there are two types of hydrogen samples, and we can represent is that one class H1 is O and another H2 as X. So by the help of SVM we can support the vectors using kernel function, and for that we have to use the various gene process, the data expression gene, and after separating all the genes we will get one output that this is one gene and this is another gene, and there is the complex interaction after making the separation. When we are getting the final data, then we are getting the output. Main yes. Support point is doing is the vector processing.
Okay, so I have one idea. Yes, it's a fantastic application. So I can just give you the source. So among the class, I'm just asking you one group. Can we form a group to work with this medical data set? So my idea is, since we are now at the advanced topic and I'm going to implement each and every model, just like previous classes. So now from today onwards, can we create one group? Means, can I ask you for this question? Means, tomorrow we have one class. So can you decide that you just create one group and all of the group will be assigned with the medical data, and we will work on this. So can we do this?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
For everyone, I'm just helping you see. You just pick data from UCI. I'm just not telling this one again and again. Just today, for today onwards, you just go to this site, NCBI. This is the site from where we can gather data. And I think Shoptoshi was talking, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Shoptoshi, yes, I have one request to you, that do you have any idea that apart from this site from where we get this medical data sets, so we will gather it, perform data analysis, and we will try out all these algorithms in groups. So can we do that?
Yes, ma'am. We have to first check my website, the biotechnology website, and
Yes.
we can gather the genome sequencing. Right now I'm working on this project. So
Fantastic. So you have one idea on genome sequencing, right?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Shaptoshi, I'm just giving you one idea and I'm telling everyone, see, in the UCI, you have one data set. You just check this data set. You have DNA data set. So you just go to UCI and search for DNA data set. And in NCBI also you have genome data set and UCI data set. Idea, what I will do, see, whenever we want to work on any project, there is two principles. First, we have to create one data set by our own, means we will work on some real life data set. But in order to prove how much accurate our algorithm is, we have to work on some benchmark data set. Benchmark data set means data set which is taken from UCI or NCBI, right? Or any other site. So my idea is I will create some group, and then each and every group will pick two types of data set. One data set from some regular repository, and one data set, Shaptoshi, you will help us that from where should we gather. So now at the end of this session, we will compare among all the groups which data set and which model, on which data set which model is giving what much accuracy. So it will be a very much large comparison and we will get a pretty much good idea about it. So we can do that. But since one thing is, two things you have to do. First, you have to search for this kind of genome data set so you can guide other also. And also everyone, please create a group. Large, if you have a very large group, then I have no problem. So create a group so that from this day onwards, we can work on this advanced topic. So let's work with this genome data set. It will be a good one. And if you have any others, for all other students, if you have any other suggestion, you can tell us. No problem. But can we work on this genome data set? Shaptoshi, so you have to give one brief idea about the genome data set, because there are, means I am also not good at this biological data set. So we will do some of the classes where we will discuss about this data set and we will try to find out the appropriate model, right? And then we will proceed.
Yes, ma'am. But ma'am, there is a thing that students have to know all about the genomes and the basic chemistry.
No,
because it's totally,
they don't have to understand in details. What you have to do is that you are the domain expert, right? So
yes,
initially what we will do, we will fetch the data set and we will try to read out the data set description. In the dataset description, we will find what is the attribute details and what is the class level. So whenever they find the attribute names, so we will backtrack it. Means by visualizing the attribute's name, we will learn. So this attribute means what? This attribute means what? So generally they will develop some idea about the chemistry and this medical sciences. So this way we will proceed. Otherwise, people will take lot of time to read chemistry and this thing. So we want to focus on more on machine learning, right? And since you are a domain expert and you are working on it, and definitely you will help this. So, and one thing, can anyone take attendance? Screenshot and send it to me. So from tomorrow onwards, we can do this kind of project. But so what is the assignment? Please try to find out the data sets. Then we can proceed further. Right?
Ma'am, I have taken the attendance.
Okay.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes.
Ma'am, how are we taking the value of the gamma parameter? Are we using hyperparameter optimization?
Yes, definitely. Okay. And also I will share one concept with you, that how to tune this hyperparameter. This thing also we have to memorize. Yes. But initially what we will do, just like today that I have discussed, that what should be the value of gamma, that's 0.1. So this thing I will give it to you. Later what we will do, we will experiment on that. Why 0.1? Why not other value? then I will tell you one concept, that is what is hyperparameter tuning. This is the latest research topic which is needed for all machine learning algorithm implementation, right? So this thing we will do. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
So we will meet tomorrow at 6:30 and try to think about different types of projects. So all the advanced topic we are going to implement as a project, right? Okay. Anyways, thank you everyone for joining the class.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.